My father is divorcing my mom and I know he's cheating. This is going to be a longer one, I could use advice. So a while ago my mother and stepfather, who I'll call Rob, announced they were getting a divorce. Rob said he went to a therapist and it was unreconcilable. He said he was unhappy and there was no way to fix things. I found this odd because my mother had been caught off guard by this and had no idea. I mean, if things were so bad then there should have been some kind of sign. He also refused to try any steps to salvage the marriage. I decided to do some digging and was having a tough time of finding anything until I decided to go through phone records. Now my company won't give out details of texts, just the number it was sent to, and the same for phone calls, as well as the dates and times. I spent hours going through all of the numbers and texts and that's when I found a pattern. There were a few numbers that he called often. My mother's, friends, work colleagues etc. But then I started comparing the timing of the calls and found one of the number he would call during the early morning, the day, and late at night. At first I thought that maybe it was work, as he works for a large corporation and has a managerial role. So I started doing searches on the every number he called that I didn't have in my contacts as well. Lo and behold, the number he called most frequently was a work colleague. A female colleague, 33F, whom I'll call Lisa, who Rob directly oversaw. Now before anyone says anything, the number of calls and the timing ruled out it being work-related. Rob literally called Lisa as soon as he woke up and before bed. Texted her while in bed next to my mother. I dug deeper into her life and found out she's married with 2 kids, however she and her husband had coincidentally recently separated around the exact same time he did with my mother. Lisa also just so happened to recently move to another location, albeit same department. Now under these circumstances I'd be pissed, but the shit he's put me through throughout my childhood, it just enrages me. It made me sick to my stomach digging all of this up. I didn't want to break the news to my mom because she is the kindest woman I know who takes care of everyone. Rob on the other hand has been the stereotype of a bad stepdad. He was abusive throughout my childhood and whenever he was angry I was the target. Rob put his son, 20M, whom I'll call Brian, on a pedestal, who he himself was a complete jerk. He would bully my brother and I, and if I tried to stand up for myself Rob would come in and beat me up. I was always stronger, so when Brian would start hitting me and pushing me I'd bear hug him and tell him to stop and wouldn't let go until he agreed or Rob came in and threw me on the ground. During Christmas Brian would get everything he asked for, totaling up to several hundreds of dollars, and I'd get something cheap that was clearly walked by last minute and made it work. When my mom tried to stand up for us he was turned his rage on her and yell at her and gaslight her. I'm the only one he laid a hand on as far as I can tell, mainly because when he got enraged I would get between because I couldn't let my little brother or my mom get abused like that. I think you all get the idea. The idea of him doing this to my mother makes me so angry, and I get this feeling I want to do something, I need to do something. I've thought about contacting his work for an inappropriate relationship, but now that she moved I don't know if that will work. Plus if he did lose his job then there goes all my mom's alimony. I just don't know what to do, but it's been killing me inside. Please Reddit, if you have any suggestions or anything tell me. PS please don't suggest violence. I'm not a violent person and I don't act with violence, I only react to protect myself or my loved ones. Thank you. Comment. Meet up with his AP and her soon-to-be ex, tell them what kind of childhood your stepdad gave you. She is a grown woman and might not listen, but the idea that Mr. Perfect is abusive. But it is not something she ignore, especially if her ex knows. Also sound excited that your parents are getting divorced. It will be the best holidays not seeing how grown abusive son. The best you can do is warn them to protect their kids. Evil stepdad loses your mom and his so is all alone, crusty and dusty. I would start leaving notes in his car and her car, saying I know you cheated anonymously. Send the info to Lisa's husband that she was cheating, could help in the divorce. Create a fake profile on Facebook and catfish her. You need to tell your mom so she's not so nice in the divorce and bleeds him dry. You could also slash his tires. Get a fake number from Google and send her text anonymous about the affair and how her kids are being raised by a slut. Actually, finding where they are hooking up and letting the air out of their tires is more fun. Just repeatedly let the air out. Or slowly a little out of one tire day after day. This will drive them nuts, and they will end up taking the car in to get the tire checked over and over. Also, I like the idea of leaving notes on the car. Hey baby, miss you. If you leave it on her car, good old stepdad would think she is cheating. But frankly, he is a shit and your mom can do much better than an abusive cheating asshole. So I would not screw with the job. But sending info to the woman's future ex-husband is gold. Just don't get caught letting the air out, oh, and do the same tire over and over. LOL. I would make your mom aware of this, and I would also make the spouse of the other aware of this. They are breaking up to relationships because they are in the affair fog. Do what's best for both families and make everybody come out in the open. Don't let your father walk away with more than he should when he is betraying your mother like that, being married for that long. Next story 2. On Sunday, I found out my boyfriend of over a year cheated with multiple women. I, 18F, found out yesterday that my now ex-BF, 18M, cheated on me. We were together for over a year and did just about everything you could imagine together. I mean, shit, we even had our entire future planned out, we were that serious. It's June 13th now, and around May 29th he was starting to act a little odd, but I didn't think much of it. A couple weeks go by and all is well. I did notice a change in his behavior, like how he was beginning to sleep super late, sometimes until 5 to 6 p.m., or he would take extremely long naps. I'm talking 10+ hour naps in the middle of the day, but for some reason I never suspected he was doing anything but sleeping. I trusted him so much, and this happened a couple times a week for like 2 weeks. Starting on Wednesday, he seemed really distant. He was becoming more dry with me, taking longer to answer, and he was getting mad at me for what seemed like everything. I knew that he was going through a hard time though, so I just let it slide off. This distant behavior carried on into Sunday, which is the day I found out. Everything was the same until around 9 when I got a text from his best friend's ex saying that she had something to tell me about my boyfriend. I said okay and I called her, and well, it was exactly what I feared. He cheated on me. From June 1st to June 11th, he cheated on me with multiple women. I didn't want to believe any of it, but all of the voices, pictures, and texts were right there. I never in a million years thought this would happen, since he told me our whole relationship that he only wanted me and that he would never put himself in a position to lose me, yet he did. With 2 women. The first woman was his dealer. He biked up to her house to go see her multiple days in a row for 2 weeks. I saw photo evidence of them together with his shirt off, all up on each other. When asked if they had sex, his response was, "Don't worry about it," in a time that was almost joke-like, and it made me feel so sick. The problem with this is that he started to make every excuse under the sun not to see me. For example, he'd say I don't have a ride, or I have to stay home with my siblings, or I have to go to my dad's. It hurt SM every time he said he couldn't see me, but I just put up with it. The second girl, his best friend XGF, reached out to him on Wednesday and was flirting with him, and he reciprocated back, even though that's his best friend's ex and I used to be good friends with her, so it's obvious that I would find out at some point. And he didn't just flirt, he sent her explicit pictures, which he hasn't done for me in weeks because he told me his sex drive was low due to him being depressed. He told her he was in love with her, that she was better than me, told her amazing things about her body which he hadn't done for me in months. I mean, I had to basically force him to compliment me, talked about fucking her, and he even asked her to be his and spoke of marriage and children with her. Apparently he had feelings for her our whole relationship and was just waiting for her to reach out to him again. Even though this only went on for a few days, he still did it, and he begged her to keep talking to him. He betrayed me and did the one thing he swore he would never do. He would not admit to cheating until he realized I had proof, and even after that all he could say was yeah and nod his head. I asked him why he did it, and he said it's because he was unhappy with his life and he was depressed because his mom is dying, and because he didn't know how to communicate with me. He then proceeded to blame me for his communication issues, and basically said that I drove him to do it. Apparently he was going to tell me, but you know, that's what cheaters always say. Even though it's only been a couple days, it hasn't even hit me yet, like, I haven't cried much, and I think it's because it's so unreal that I don't even believe it even though the warning signs were there early on in our relationship. I have no idea what to do, how to move on, or what steps to take. I already broke up with him and blocked him on everything, but I don't know how to forgive him, and I don't know if I will. I feel so lost, helpless, ugly, unlovable, and confused. I loved him so much. He was the first man I ever fell in love with, and I'm not sure how to move on from this at all. He told me I was his first love too and that he was in love with me. He told me that he's never loved anyone as much as he loves me, yet he still did this, and according to him on the first girl he's ever cheated on, which I don't believe. But, if it's true, why me? I did literally everything for him. I mothered him, provided for him, and isolated myself from everyone in my life, because he convinced me that anyone who wasn't him was bad for me. I gave him unlimited chances and I forgave him over and over again, but that's on me and I know it, yet here I am wondering how I could have stopped him from cheating and what I could have done differently. I hate how much I gave to him. I gave up my whole life for him, and now I'm left with nothing and no one. He's ruined me and I hate him so much, yet I am still so in love with him and I miss him so much. Comment. I'm sorry for what you went through. Please know that it isn't your fault at all. You gave everything you had to make sure the relationship worked, but he didn't reciprocate the effort, and this is something no one could predict happening. There is a reason why people say cheaters will always be cheaters, and that is because cheating is how they seek out thrill, much like why some love roller coasters, because they love the thrill of being close to death. The only thing holding back people who have thoughts of cheating comes down to basic morals, whether they feel guilt, loyalty, etc., and in your case he had none of these, seeing that he cheated on you with multiple women. So once again, please know that it is not your fault, but his fault for having no morals. If anything, you dodged a nuke. He was going to cheat sooner or later. Find good in that he did it early on and not much later when you could be married to him. You're still young. Take this as a shitty experience and take your time to move on. Wow, he blamed his cheating not only on you but on the fact that he's depressed on account of his mother's dying. He's full of shit, plain and simple. He wanted to cheat, nobody made him cheat, that was his choice. I hate to sound like a broken record, but it sounds like he might have some narcissistic traits/tendencies, but that's just an opinion. I'm not a doctor or shrink, just giving my 2 cents. Whatever you decide to do, please do not take him back no matter what he says or does. He's not going to change. There are better men out there for you, but I'd advise setting stronger boundaries going forward, and if you start feeling the slightest of being disrespected, don't keep it to yourself and don't let it slide. Call them out on it, because the more you let slide the more they'll think they can get away with in the future.